It was a bit weird. Well, obviously. Okay, really, Alex?
Your life-threatening heart surgery was weird, crazy.
So I had to prepare the tour while doing my will. Especially as artists, we tend to say, okay, well, we're going to do a collaboration. And now is the new thing. You want to cross-pollinate your fans with other fans and to keep on growing your fan base or whatever. But me, what I like is just to exchange ideas and point of views and sensations and feelings from people that are completely different. Now, especially in the music business, it's a bit like that in the movie business as well, with all the Marvels and everything. It's more about how far can we push the audience to listen to the same thing over and over and over again. It's the same producer, it's the same type of music, it's the same emotion over and over. Look at what that chase or that journey made you. I mean, it's amazing. Ain't that the goal? And people are just like, no. No, I would have liked
No,
to be a
I'm
rock
good.
star. I would have liked to be like a very like pro athlete.
My guest today is a Juno nominee who overcame an intense surgery to create a new album that has hit #1 on the Canadian charts and #4 on the US charts. Please welcome Alex Henry Foster to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Very good, very good. I'm very, very happy to be with you today.
Happy to have you on. I mean, we were just talking about before this. You're in Germany, which is awesome. Like we were talking about you were like, I love knowing the reasoning why people do things like that, the background of it. And I was like, that's perfect because that's the point of this podcast and getting into like the background of the artists that I have on.
Yeah, it's cool because a lot of time, especially when you're doing a lot of press. Now I'm starting to touring, and it's actually my first tour following my heart surgery. But usually, when you're touring and you're having so much press with album release, so you tend to forget about the real essence of conversation. And I think that podcast is such a wonderful way to get a bit. I wouldn't say like a bit deeper, but at least you can go off road a little bit, when you don't need to find the clip, for all the
Yeah.
clickbaits and everything. So
Yeah.
it's cool, it's more of a relationship kind of thing, and that's why I really like it.
Yeah, it's great. And it's not like I don't even know what the genre would be called, but like just general YouTube videos where it's like you're editing out parts and trying to find like what's the most watchable that keeps you there. It's like this is our whole conversation. This was the whole time
Yeah.
that's basically unedited, and so I that's what I really like about podcasts,
So
especially.
I'll try to make sense then. There's no safety net here.
Try to keep one train of thought, but it's even then is like if like it almost gives like a feeling of realness or authenticity when someone just like starts rambling on and then at the very end like brings it back and is like, sorry, that was such a rant or something like that.
And it's great because when you're able to have that kind of conversation, I think that it gives you um emotion that usually you don't have time to establish, because in other kind of like interviews or like even like shorter like conversation, I feel like it's not as rewarding because you need to have, okay, well, this is what we're going to talk about, and you need to get your message across, which I'm not always very good at. Okay, you've got two
Yeah.
minutes, what do you want to talk in 2 minutes?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
new record, thank you.
Yeah, and it's like that's why I like like doing my own podcast or having ways to just put it out with like YouTube and stuff because it's not like we have a like scheduled time on like
Yeah.
broadcast TV or anything. It's like however long it takes, and that's fine. But yeah, I want to get everything into everything, the album, the like process of making it, your recovery, everything like that. But going back to the big thing, the thing that really started this all, like you're scheduled to just have this like 4 hour surgery. It turns into this intense, like life threatening. I'm imagining like a medical drama sort of thing for 10 hours. And like thankfully you make it through. Coming out of that, how did you like learn of what just happened, and what was your mindset at that point?
Yeah, it was a bit weird to be, well, obviously. Okay, really, Alex, it was weird. Okay, wow, great
Your
to know.
life-threatening heart surgery was weird, crazy.
Actually, what was kind of strange was like before going there, because you know what really led to that, I was on tour and I'm very disciplined, so I have like real balanced kind of lifestyle, especially on the road. So, and I was like starting to feel a bit weird and having like episodes where I was like, oh my god, what's going on with me? And it was like a heat wave in Europe. So I said, well, maybe this is that. And so so when I, the end of the tour, went to the doctor and said, oh, I just want to make sure, everything's okay. And I was going back home. I live in the States. I live in Virginia in the mountains. So I'm in Montreal, and I'm just like, well, just we're just like, just a checkup. And she looked at me. She said, oh, is it possible for you to go immediately to the hospital? Said, and then I just started to laugh, right? Because I know that person for so long. Just like, ha ha ha, that's a good one. I'm just like thinking my flight is in like 3 hours or something. She said, well, no, you won't be on that plane today, boy. So, and everything started from there. I was like, what? And so that was already strange. And especially that the year that was the following year, I had like almost a well, there was like a world tour coming up, and wanted to do a new record and everything. So everything was kind of organized. And I said, I told the doctor, I said, look, whatever it is, I don't have much time to deal with that, to be quite honest. As if I was, still in control.
Yeah.
Everybody were like, man, it was this guy
You're
anyway.
like, can that just
And
wait until after the tour?
yeah, just like, I'm pretty busy. Can we schedule that for, I don't know, like 20, 27 maybe? So so anyway, and I realized that it was in very intense condition, and they didn't realize how bad it was at that moment. So after that, I said, "Oh, cool. Do you mind? I have like music conferences coming up, and can I go?" And they were like, "Oh, as long as you don't perform, it's great." I said, "No, no, no. It's really like music conferences, and I'm usually invited in places where I can share, my journey and everything." So I went to back. I went to Milan, Paris, Tokyo, and then like vacation in the south. So when I get back, I was even more tired, obviously. So when I got to that moment where it was time to get prepared for the surgery and everything, so I had to prepare the tour while doing my will. And I mean, it's such a surreal situation because since I'm an entrepreneur as well, so I have like, I'm very involved in different aspects of like music and everything. So I was like, okay. And everybody were suddenly very nice with me. I don't know why. When you're, it's possible that you might not make it. Suddenly all your friends are just like, oh, I always liked you, brother. If there's anything you want me to carry on as your legacy, just like you just have to
Yeah.
write my name. You just have to write my name
Yeah. Yeah.
here and there. So I was very popular for a moment. Now there's a lot of people. There's a lot of grumpy people around me right now, just like, oh man, he made it. So anyway, so I just like got there, and long story short, to answer your question, which makes sense now, is the fact that when I came back, obviously I was relieved, and but I was ready as well. Just I was just like, okay, well, I was at peace. I had like a wonderful life and very, fulfilling existence. But it's kind of weird, to face your own mortality and to face your friends that are looking at you just like as if, you know just, okay, well, it's goodbye. Nobody wants to say goodbye in that kind of, situation, or at all. So when I woke up, I was like so like confused, obviously. And I think I spent like 10 days in intensive care. And that's where it really hit me, because I was just like, okay, this is real. And I wasn't able to talk no more because the surgery it was so difficult that I had like tubes for a long time. So anyway, so I was like completely helpless, and I was relying on so many machines because my body wasn't able to keep me alive. So, and then you just think, wow, that was very close. That was a pretty close call. And all your friends are suddenly like the real ones, not the grumpy ones, but the real ones that are happy to see you that
Yes.
you made it. They're just like there. And I think they're able to, it's through their eyes that I realize what I actually went through. But to be quite honest, I don't think I I really looked deeply into it at even, at this point in my life. I think I will have to reflect a little bit more in the upcoming months about what happened, because I'm super active and I needed to focus on things that were positive, and re- I didn't want to look into um, what I felt had been taken away from me. So that was a pretty interesting adventure. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean I love that mindset of like you're looking for positive things to focus on, take your mind off of it. Are you a music artist trying to find a way to get your music on as many streaming platforms as possible? Then check out DistroKid. DistroKid is a super user-friendly and super easy-to-use service that will make your music available in stores like Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Amazon Music, YouTube, Snapchat, everything. Everything you could imagine, it's available. People will even be able to add your songs into their Instagram stories. DistroKid helps you with the distribution, monetization, and promotion of all of your music. Use the link in the description of this video for 7% off any DistroKid package you want. Pick from musician packages designed to help artists get their own music out there, or even get a label package where you can manage up to 100 artists from one profile. So that's more for like managers, labels, and you can also get the musician package that I mentioned earlier, which is more for artists, producers, things like that. And super easy, and you can get 7% off any package right now with the link in the description of this video. So once again, if you're looking for a way to get your music on as many streaming platforms as possible, I'm talking any platform you can think of, get DistroKid and get 7% off right now with the link in the description. Back to the program. I mean, you mentioned earlier that you're an entrepreneur, and I can absolutely tell that because most people, I'm sure, if they went through something like this, would probably be like out of commission for a while and just like
Yeah,
take it easy and really reflect. And like you mentioned, like you can't speak, you're in recovery for all this, and at some point you get the idea to start trying to make a music album for that. And I know this like final product is different than what you originally had in your mind or originally thought it would
absolutely.
be.
Yeah.
What was that original thought like, or what was your first idea for what this new album would look like?
The reality is, when a few weeks in, when I was able to go back home in Virginia, because I was still in Montreal for all the follow-ups and everything. So, and I was so frustrated. I just wanted to go back home to be with my dogs and to be in an environment where mentally and psychologically I would be able to heal, because there's a big thing, when your body is fighting to get back, in shape, but we tend to to undermine the reality that psychologically, emotionally, it's so intense as well. And me, I wasn't prepared for that. So when I finally got back home, I was unable to move much, to do to do whatever. Wasn't able to talk. So, to the great, probably like a lot of my real friends were very happy. I finally, I can like put like a word here and there, and Alex is not always talking. So, but I was just so quiet, and I was able to kind of a little bit able to reflect about things. And for whatever reason, I remembered that I was looking into projects that I did in the past, things that I never had the opportunity um, to come, to complete or whatever, to achieve. Or so. And I remember that I think like 12 years ago, I went all over Japan and to film, and I was doing like some kind of documentary, and I wanted to add music into it, and but I've never been able to finish that project because suddenly everything went super fast with the band I was in at the time. So I kind of like forgot about it, and so I'm there at home just like reflecting about okay, so what can I do? I'm not able to do much, I'm not able to talk anymore, and it wasn't a given that it would come back. So I was like pretty down, as you can imagine, and I was just like, okay, maybe I can be a writer, I'm good writing stuff. I was like so depressed, but then I had that flash. Oh yeah, it's true, I did that movie, and actually I had like so much footage, and remember like some stories also from the people that came and followed us through like that whole project, and it really became something that was bigger than my situation. It was something that was more significant than, and me being depressed, so I just said, okay, that could be something very cool to work on, and just at least just to to look at all those images. And then I called my friend Ben. He's my um, co-writer. We've been together forever with music and so many different projects. Called him. Well, try. I didn't call. I just sent him like an, just like
Yeah.
email. So just like, oh, that would be cool if you would like to come to Virginia because I have like a studio there and we can work on a project. Everybody were like, oh man, probably Alex is on like very, very strong meds right now. He's not, this is just nuts.
Yeah.
But finally he came. And after that, I involved Momoka as well, Japanese artist. And that motion from that movie and then the music, it was basically the reflection of every day, me recovering. So I already had like um, a bit of a poetry book that I wrote back in those days that was supposed to go along with the movie. So I already have a lot of words that weren't like related to my condition. I didn't want my condition to be, oh, okay, well, Alex is depressed, Alex is, is lost it all and blah blah blah, and so boring, right? So I just like picked up, those um, poems, and then Momoka, instead of like translating them, she made her own interpretation of all those words, and slowly we just like assembled those pieces of music, pieces of words, and as I was able to convey some ideas or emotion, just like
Yeah.
you know? So they were basically um, getting into that stream of life that was slowly taking back, taking, yeah, I was just like that little seed of life was blooming slowly, and every day was a real challenge, and it was different. And because my house is in the mountains, I'm surrounded with nature, so nature was also part of the whole project. So honestly, I wasn't thinking much about anything when we all started. I just needed to be able to focus on something that wasn't me, that's something that was uh, uh, more significant than my situation. And through that project, I was able to learn so many things that I forgot along the way because I was listening, because I wasn't able to take control of everything. I wasn't like the center of every aspect of it because I didn't have the energy. So I was able to witness how talented and committed those guys were around me. And I was very, not that I didn't know, but I think that I was maybe taking that for granted in the past years. So just to witness that, it was just like, whoa, wait a minute, it's amazing, and nature and everything. So I was more sensitive to my environment rather than just like being so focused about me and my obvious my obvious, yeah, kind of
And
like
your situation.
yes, exactly. So, and I think it really opened my eyes on so many different things, because when you're the driving force, I'm always a driving force of projects. I think that you're losing some elements that are vital to the singularity of any projects you're in, and it's other people around. It's not that you want to keep those people aside, but I think by nature you're just like taking everything in, and just like boom, you're going. Just like okay, let's do it. And but by being so diminished in a way, I was just able to be carried by that flow, by those emotions that were taking place very naturally. So it was very an organic kind of project that became an album later on, and now that led to a second iteration of the record as well, and further down the road, the movie that I completed, and I went back to Japan to film. That was very like the beginning of a very bad idea, just like I'm able to talk a little bit and to walk for 2 minutes. I think it's going to be like the good time for me to go to Tokyo and film.
Yeah.
Everybody were just like, what?
Hey, it's Heroek, and this episode is sponsored by me. Well, kind of. If you don't know, I recently started a clothing line called Quest Clothing, which you can shop right now. I'll leave some pictures here on the screen, but we got the core collection, which is just this sleek black and white design on a bunch of products. And then we also have some more like merch style stuff with cover arts for my songs and things like that. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and I'm really excited that I now have it. And so expect a lot more collections, a lot more designs coming out soon. I'll leave a link to it down below, and if you want to stay up to date with any new releases or anything like that, follow at Shop Quest Clothing on Instagram. So go get cool designs like this, or even this, and you'll be helping me support all of this, the podcast, the music, everything. Plus, it just looks cool. We even got this nice big letter design on the back. Look at that. Look how cool that looks. So head to the link in the description to get yourself some Quest clothing, and make sure to follow at Shop Quest Clothing on Instagram for updates with new collections and stuff like that. And now, back to the episode.
The album already has a story in and of itself, but like you have so many projects that you're trying to pack into this year. The album, film, you have another album coming out, and then this whole like sort of like live music series that you want to get done. But with this album, have like bring Momoko on, like how, because it's such a big thing to like trust someone else to be basically the voice of your album. What and maybe it is your history with her, but what made you trust her or be like, this is the person I want, like being the voice of this album?
Yeah, I think you're right. You're right on so many different levels about trust. I think that I've seen Momoka over the years, and how sh she's got a real gift about taking something that ain't her and to make it her own, and to make it um she's not acting, you know what I mean? So, and that for me, that was super important, and I kept on trying to tell her, trying to tell her,
Yeah.
be yourself. It's not about, because at the beginning everybody were kind of like looking at me all the time. So every time we were like putting together a few chords or arrangements or a few words, everybody were like, Ben and Momoka were just like looking at me. Okay, is it what you want? Is it okay? And then I told them, guys, it needs to be like something that it's organic together, because otherwise, I mean, it will be so bad, just like mm, and then where do you go with that? And Momoka, she's got that sensitivity, um, that she can pick up. She can feel what you're going through, and she can make it her own. So it's not you, and it's her own interpretation um, of those feelings, and she can make those feelings her own feelings. So that's why I knew that from the get-go that she would be able to, and she would not only to do that, but she would be very enthusiastic about that project, not only because it's Japan, but I knew that she would make it her own. Because even for what I'm what I can understand from Japanese reaction is the fact that Momoka really took her own liberty, if you want, to create words that aren't usually used in Japanese literature or songs or things like that. She really created um, an emotional environment of her own, and so I think that a lot of people were are now able to connect with that. But even if you're not speaking Japanese, you're able to feel those emotions. You're able to understand through her tone, through her delivery, what's going on here, and you can make your own images. And knowing that that was a clear um, path that I wanted us to kind of explore, and Momoka was the perfect person to do that because there's this sense. How can I say? I was about to say the word fragile, but it's not necessarily what I mean. But it's really being like sensitive to other people and to be able to express those emotions or our own in our own way.
Empathetic.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
you're like trying to understand what
I'm
they go through, or make them feel seen.
I'm just a musician, so you said it right.
Yeah, well, like you said, like she was the perfect fit for it, and I mean it clearly worked. Like I said, the album is like topping all these charts, like crushing Canadian charts, doing well on US charts. And even with this album out, like I said, you're still planning all these other projects. Like most people would really sit there and enjoy this, and you already have like this big slate of other things you're working on, including another album, A Measure of Space and Sounds. What can you sort of tell us, not to blow past this current album, but what can you tell
Yeah.
us about that album, or like your vision for that one?
I think that it was just natural of like transition from Kimiyo, that's more dense kind of environment with sounds, arrangements, and all the poetry and everything. And there's also a reality and that kind of journey that is um, that whole project in a way. And it's what you're um, going through internally, and it's not as organized, it's not as well, it's not as eloquent. So it's more like something that it's a maelstrom of emotion going inside. And when I was slowly being able to understand what we had with like Kimio, and we had like all those different pieces of musical moments. And I said, well, you know what? That is what, as we were working on Kimio, this is what I was going through. Like all like different layers of sounds that are, just like raging in your head, all those emotion that you're not able to actually express. Just like being happy or being sad or whatever is just like the same thing. And you feel that frustration and some kind of an emptiness as well. But when you just like refocus on what's going on and to kind of find your balance back, you realize that all those layers of emotions and sounds and are creating something of their own. And that's the reason why that next record was significant for me, because it's just like this Kimio is like a whole journey, and you can a bit understanding with like all the emotion, the voice and everything. But that piece is something that goes from that lives within, and it's not something that I'm proposing you. It's something that you need to define as a person, as a listener, or whatever. So, and that was really important for me. And for the movie, everything kind of makes sense because the second I had the opportunity to have a bit of voice, so I was just like doing spoken words, voiceover on those songs slowly, and just like trying to express on the music, on the A Measure of Shapes and Sound, just a few words. Just okay, well, this is what it is, and and we didn't know at the time, but we realized, wait a minute, just it felt like it was, if the movie was all chapters, and it, before like the curtains were opening again, so that voice, that you don't really, who is it, what is he talking about with that kind of music, and then suddenly, ooh, next chapter. So it really, it it just made sense suddenly, and we
Yeah.
had something that was significant. And so I wasn't sure if I wanted to release any of that, because first, I don't really care about, I'm happy and I'm very grateful that people receive the record, but for me, numbers and everything, it's it's
It's
great, but
just like an added bonus. It's not the
yes,
reason you're doing it.
no, especially that I will sound like a bit of like a like an ego type of guy, but I experienced that before. And when you're, oh man, this is amazing, and you're on top, and suddenly just like you have like that buzz going on, and just say,
Yeah.
yes, we made it. So I've been through that with my previous band so many times before, and I've learned that what really matters is how you're able to connect with others. And so it all goes back to that. And that project for me was a wonderful way to reconnect on a different level, because it's under my name, but it's not my voice. It's kind of weird. So after that, it's just like, okay, it's an instrumental, like layers to layers to layers of guitars and stuff like that without my voice. It's kind of weird. And then after that, you get a movie that I'm not in. I'm not the main character. I'm the one, basically being a witness or inviting others to witness the, somebody else's story. So there's so many wrongs in that. you know? Just like
Yeah.
as a, as a I don't know, just like as a marketing standpoint, you're just like, okay, how many other wrongs can you do? And but it all made sense, because that was
Uh,
the a bit of like the world that I wanted to invite people in, so that I don't have to tell them through my voice or my words what they need to feel or what those songs are about. It's for them to define, and then after that we can share and have a real communion together. So that's why those first three phases made sense, and leading up to at the end, just to have like a moment when you can do like a showing of the movie, and you can talk about it a little, and then based on what we shared that night, we can improvise music and basically invite people in the moment. And we all created through our emotions, watch the movie and everything, talk about emotions again. And then, okay, let's see what music can we do something special with what we shared musically through improvisation. So that's the whole uh, project.
Hey, if you're like me and you're interested in the YouTube or creator space, you should check out The Publish Press. The Publish Press is a completely free newsletter founded by YouTubers Colin and Samir. They host their own podcast talking to some of YouTube's largest creators. They've edited some of the best content I've seen on YouTube, and now they're sharing their knowledge about the YouTube space with you for free. The Publish Press comes out 3 times a week, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, with everything going on with their favorite creators and platforms. And like I said, it's completely free. Just enter your email address to receive the Publish Press whenever it comes out, and that's it. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below, sign up to the Publish Press, and get all the info you need on the industry.
You're clearly focused on, like you said, connections with
Yes.
whether that's people you're working with directly or fans, listeners, things like that. And I feel like with the other project you're working on, it's hard to keep track of all of them, but the other project, the like the conversations, live musical improv, like I feel like that is going to be just like such an authentic way of you connecting with people. Is that sort of what you wanted from it, or what was your like motivation behind doing this like project?
Yeah, absolutely. Because when you're deprived from being able to connect, especially for me, it's like it's really the center. That's the main reason why I'm doing what where I'm creating projects in the first place. It's to be able to connect with people. Without that connection, it's only like it's either ambition, ego. It's like noise and lamentations. It's just like it's only me. It doesn't have anything to do. There's no real value in that. And if not for the fact that you're expressing yourself, which is if it's your thing, it's your thing. It's great. But for me, there's connection will give uh, purpose and meaning to those projects because I will rediscover those projects, those songs, those words through other people's eyes, how they will react towards it, and then after that, the most wonderful moment for me is when someone is coming to me and just like, oh, this song is about this and this, and I really like feel that this is really it's been written like for me in my situation. And instead of saying in my head, or instead of saying like, no, it ain't, some artists are just like, no, it ain't.
Yeah.
So, or just like in my head, so, oh, well, it's not that at all. For me, there, that's the rewarding moment where I can say, wow, okay, there's so much more to what I have been kind of used to give life to or channeled to give life to, that those songs will outlive me and the very emotions they were born from. So then for me it means, okay, this is something that it's real, it's honest, it's wonderful because it's not about me anymore. It's not, and it's really like the song creating its own journey. And along that journey, if you follow that journey, you will meet so many people, and people will, have all the different angle to it. And it's true. Oh wow, I never thought about that. Yeah, you can see that. Like, yeah. So for me, I'm
Yeah.
just rediscovering those songs, and that's why I'm no longer concerned about playing those songs live night after night after night because my biggest challenge at first, because some of those songs are so personal, if I keep on playing those songs, they will lose their true essence at some point, and the real nature of those songs will vanish, and I will lose those emotions, or I will, completely. I will lose also the people that are attached to those songs. But when I realized that songs can make their own way and they can bloom on their own. So I don't have to fear that no more. I don't
Yeah.
have to worry. I mean, they will grow in a way that I'm just like amazed. And some nights you're just like, I'm just beat, just beat. It's
Yeah.
kind of like being, wait a minute, what's going on here? And you're just happy to be there. You don't
Yeah,
see like,
they
oh,
evolve over time just like on their own,
absolutely.
and it's this whole thing of like people listening to it to come up with their own connections or like meanings that you may not have even thought of, or that's even personal to them. And it's like even if you're making a song with like the most personal like specific moment to you, someone hearing it could relate that to something in their own
Yeah.
life, and so it's always going to
and
take
that's and
on
that's why
new
and that's why
meanings.
and that's why for us, well, for me and the rest of the band that are following me, improvisation is so important because that's the way you're that's the only way you can leave those songs alone and they can like basically reform themselves the way they want from a night to another. So doing like improvisation is great because it, you have to be focused on the moment. You have to be there. It's now, it's real, it's happening right now. And because if you're just like playing the songs and, any given night and you're tired or whatever, so it's going to be a real catastrophe because suddenly everybody's off sync. But when you're really trying, and we're minimum six on stage, doing improvisation, that's already crazy in itself. So, but when you're able to connect and let the music be the guide, that's fantastic, because you're just like, what?
Yeah.
So that's the
Yeah.
most beautiful thing in my opinion, as a creator. I don't see myself like being able to play the same songs in the same format night after night after night like a jukebox. This is really, I'm seeing, being on the road, and this is not judgmental on other artists, and everybody's entitled to do whatever they want, but sometimes you're just like witnessing fantastic artists, great, great singers, what amazing bands, like playing on a click track with they've got so much, they're relying so much on computers and everything that is already programmed, that I'm wondering, sometimes you can feel that, with the crowd, there's like a moment of magic that wants to take off, out of the script. But no, you need to, because you're kind of like, you're stuck with the machines, you're stuck with what you put yourself into. And suddenly, it for me, it becomes very sad, because that moment of magic is gone forever. So, and I know that because I've been in a band like that before. So it's just like I'm
Yeah.
judging others. I've been there. I know that. Just when it's a laptop, like basically leading the show, and it's not like the vibe and the soul, you're just like, maybe there's something wrong here. And so yeah, so when you're able to just to let yourself loose and go and do some improv, this is the most wonderful and fantastic reward you can have as a creator, but even more so as a person, because we're all emotional, we're made of emotions and motions. So when you're able to dwell into that and to trust others, that we're going to go somewhere, and we're all connected with a main goal, which is to channel those, wherever that invisible spirit leads us from a night to another. I mean, that's phenomenal, especially when you're able to to kind of play with, like, when you're cohesive, at least, to do that.
Yeah.
But when you do it, just like, it's beautiful. It's beautiful feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And so if there's someone listening who like is just now for the first time hearing about you or your story and wants to get into your music, hear the kinds of music that you like to make, what song of yours would you recommend as like a first listen to Alex Henry Foster?
Wow, that's a very tough question. I wasn't prepared for that. So, oh wow. It's just like, hopefully I'm a single child. You don't have to, my parents never had to pick one of their favorite,
Yeah.
I would, hey, I'm here. Good
Yeah,
question.
and
I don't know. A
feel
lot.
free to throw out like a bunch of
Yeah.
options. It doesn't have to be just
Yeah.
one.
I think a lot of people are uh, relating to the song Hunter. It's a very long, it's a long journey of a song, and it's something that has been uh, crafted in a spark of a moment, and we kept that song for what it was, and now it evolves obviously over time. But this is a really very, very interesting and growing on you type of track. I really like that song. It's a song I like to discover night after night when we have the opportunity to play. Now live, it's a 25-minute version. So, when you're doing festivals, just like, okay, well, this is like the last song, but you just jump on stage.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's that type of song. And another one would be Shadows of Our Evening Tide. It's a more a bit of a fragile, vulnerable kind of vibe. It's completely different from the Hunter, and it just like carries like a real yeah, emotions that are a bit more personal, but at the same time that you kind of look around after a while and just say, well, okay, well, we have that in common. And I think it starts as one, and it brings people together. It's a very, again, that's those observations. It's it's what I see every night, from the
Hmm.
people, and just like, oh, okay, I wasn't expecting that, and then, oh, that's interesting. So that's pretty much those two tracks are among my yeah, favorite, and I think it relate. People are relating to those two tracks again. Also,
Awesome. And you know, th- you definitely, going back to this current album, Kimiyo, you had to, you brought Ben in, like you said, you brought Momoka, and you're working with these people. It's very collaborative, and not in that situation of still being in recovery, but just in general, you being healthy and making like a new song or a new album. Who is an artist or a band that you would love to collaborate with?
yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question. I think what I would like more, and then to see where it might lead, is to bring, the like of, Nick Cave and Eddie Vedder. We're in the same room and trying to sneak all the members of Sonic Youth in the room to see if, we can manage to get back together. But I think, it just to bring those very authentic guys and girls together, and we can, just to talk and to see what we can create from those conversations. Because sometimes we tend, especially as artists, we tend to say, okay, well, we're going to do like a collaboration, and there's a, like, now is the new thing, you want to cross pollinate, your fans with other fans, and to keep on growing your fan base or whatever. But me, what I like is just to exchange ideas and point of views and sensations and feelings from people that are completely different and are coming from different backgrounds, that had like a different trajectory in their career, and where they are now. So those are the kind of people that I would like to, you get like Michael Stipes and Patti Smith at some point, and just say, okay, well, so what do we want to talk? And it's not about music; it's about life. It's about emotion. So those topics might lead to create sounds and lyrics down the road. But I think it's when you're able to just open up and listen and discover from other people's perspective, that suddenly you will outgrow your own limitations. Oh yeah, that's interesting. We can do that and that, because now, especially in the music business, and it's a bit like that. I believe in the movie business as well, with all the Marvels and everything. I think that it's more about who's doing what, and how far can we push the audience to listen to the same thing over and over and over again. It's the same producer, it's the same type of music, it's the same, it's the same emotion over and over. I mean, when it's funny because, and I might have like, it's dangerous nowadays to even talk about Taylor Swift and to reflect about this. But okay, so how many other songs do we need about, you know, calling people out?
Hmm.
So that's, so I'm wondering if she was able to get out of that kind of script in a different environment with like experimental uh, musicians, jazz. What what
It
what
unlocks a
can
whole
we
new
have?
world of opportunity.
Yeah, and I'm talking about her because she's like obviously like on the top of the world now, but it's the same thing when you have like different artists that are just like doing and repeating, different. It's a different kind of angle to the same thing. So that's why when you're able to find people that are like-minded, but that are so different than you are, I think that you will be able to discover so much more about yourself, so much more about the meaning of, maybe I would say, life or in general, but also about the meaning of art in itself. Just to have like Patti Smith and to be able just to listen to her, you don't just, even me, I would be able to shut up for a minute,
Yes.
which is a big thing. But you're just like listening to that wonderful person, and it's already music. It's art, because in many ways we are our own uh, art form. And when you bring people in the room, and people are just dropping their uniform and their facade, what their public image, so then you're okay. Well, what do we have here? So I think that's my angle about collaboration, rather than just like, okay, who's cool and who can I have on one of my track
And
to
yeah,
make
yeah,
me
making a
to
song.
to associate myself, to associate my uncool me to someone who is cool. So I think that you're completely missing the point, in my point of view. And again, people can do whatever they want, but
No, I,
I,
I, I get it. And I really like that because I feel like you're right that a lot of times now an artist or two artists will collaborate and it's all about like let's get in the studio together, let's make a song together, things like that. Or even now in the digital age, it's things of like one of them sends just like an instrumental to them and they just like record a verse on their own and send it back all digitally without ever like being in person. And I like your idea of like working with someone, not even just like even particularly working, but just like meeting them and connecting and then letting that connection or that experience spark a new song or have a new song come from that, get inspired from it, which I think is awesome and should probably happen more often.
yeah, and sometimes I had like the utmost opportunity to have coffee with some. I was about to say my some of my musical heroes, but you get to a point where you just want to know who they are, outside of like, oh man, this is my favorite song. What were you like? What type of cereals were you eating in the morning when you wrote that song?
Yeah.
So, and I had the opportunity to, just have moments with some of those guys, and it's never occurred to me, oh, we should like do a project together. For me, it's just like you're in the presence of a moment, and you just say, okay, so what can we share? What what it's
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
and
Getting
I guess
getting
that,
to know them as a person rather than seeing it as like a work collaboration.
but I guess it's the it will come in time, if the moment you had was real enough, was enough of a moment. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's how I see it anyway.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome. And similar to this like dream collaborations thing, do you have like a bucket list of venues that you want to play at or perform your music at one day?
I guess it will go back to what my father was like sharing with me when I was a kid, and that I would have liked to be able to share with him when he was still alive. And I think like the Madison Square Garden was something for him, coming from Montreal, and New York was for him success. Even the first time that I played in New York was in a very small jazz club. I mean, just like in front of nobody. But my father, when he knew that I was playing there, it was just like, was so proud. It was just like, wow, man, just amazing. You you made it to New York. Because when I grew up, and I'm French Canadian, and when you're growing up in a very poor environment, it's very difficult. Nobody's expecting you to to even touch, to even dream, basically. So when you're in the near distance of somebody else's dream, and it's your father, it's quite incredible of a feeling to see his reaction in his face. And I would have that's a bit of a moment I would have liked to, because he was too sick when I was like playing in Japan and in France and all over Europe. But that's a little bit of something that I would have liked to offer him when he was still alive. And I bet when that moment will come, he would be in a way there. You know, his presence will fill the whole arena. So I think it all goes back to that for me, because you can have all the ambition in the world, and it's like getting on top of like, I've got a lot of like my friends that are pro athletes, and one of them, they won like the Super Bowl, and it was, wow, amazing, it's quite something, you know. It's just like, and is that it? You know, that
Yeah,
sensation of like,
yeah.
okay, yeah, is that it? And then it's like, okay, let's repeat it, and then you repeat it, and okay, but is it like the pinnacle of your life? And I think that when you realize that there's so much more to it, and there's no ceiling about what you can experience when it's about other people, so then you're, wow, okay, well, we can go places with that motion. So that's, for me, that's mainly that.
Yeah.
And every night is different. Every night is special when you have the opportunity to play in front of people, and people are taking a moment of their very busy life to come and see you, and they're willing to invest a few dollars and seeing you and have a moment with you, from that, even if they're like one or 90,000 people, it's that
Well,
little bit of a
and
connection. It's incredible, you know.
it's I love that you're all about connections, because there was like I mean I think I've heard interviews with like multiple athletes saying or more or less that same thing about the Super Bowl, that there's sort of a like what now moment, because they train 25 years or however long of their life for that one specific goal, and
And it's
it's
the
like
toughest
they
game.
hit it and then they go back to their hotel room and they're like, well, what now? And it's like once you achieve that, there's like it's hard to think of something that like think of something to chase or a goal that you have, where
and
if it's all about like human connection to you, you never lose that. There's always more connections to be made.
and 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 I think it's human nature as well to be, you know, at some point it becomes difficult to differentiate, to kind of distance yourself from who you are and what are your goals. So, and when you're becoming your goals, so after that, it's very puzzling to get back to who I am. You know, who am I? What's next? So when you're becoming your work, as wonderful your work might be, and I think that's very, very tough to get back to the foundation, and to be not only humble about what you're experiencing in terms of success, whatever, you know, success is to you. But I think that when you're disconnected from who you are, it's, I'm wondering how you can see yourself, um, other than through your goals or dreams. So, but you're still a person. And that's why sometimes people are just so heartbroken, just, oh, you know, I was that close to my dream. I said, yeah, but look at what that chase or that journey made you. I mean, it's amazing. Ain't that the goal?
Yeah.
Is that like the ultimate thing? And people are just like, no. No, really, I would have
No,
liked to be a
I'm
rock
good.
star. I would have liked to be like a very like top pro athlete. No, no, it's really not. No, I think. But when you get, when you're in the motion of your dream, I think that's how you realize how fortunate you are, how lucky you are as well, because there's more talented people. There's people are working way harder than you are, and but you're able to touch your dream. You're able to share it with people that you love, and and that's when I suppose you realize that, okay, so what's next, it, for me, is more about, okay, Who am I outside of this? And when you're able to answer or have a beginning of an answer, that's really achievement because it means that you keep on evolving. When everything is about a thing or achieve whatever amazing it is, you might be dreaming about finding a cure for cancer, and I will like thank you for the rest of my life for that. But whatever dream you have, if you're unable to dissociate yourself from that, I think it's pretty sad. But when you're able to do that, then the sky's the limit. You will always evolve because there's no you haven't arrived. You're not completed. The journey goes on.
Yeah.
So at least that's how I see it.
Yeah, no, and I think that's great that you're it's an ongoing thing that like doesn't have one goal you can accomplish or one thing that brings it to an end. It's just always something to keep in mind or work towards, and I think that's awesome.
Again, if you want it, if you're offering me to exchange my life with like Wayne Gretzky or Derek Jeter, so it might be a bit of a different answer, but now it's the answer I'm giving you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but it's a great answer, and has been such a great conversation, a great time for me, and so I truly thank you for coming
Oh,
on
thank you,
and
Dave.
talking to us about Kimiyo, the surgery, everything else you're working on, which like is truly just like s- like I can't comprehend doing all of that at once now, let alone after recovering from a surgery. So a lot of respect to you, and feel free if you want to promote anything or let people know where they can listen to the album, watch the film, anything like that. Feel free to do it now.
It's very simple. You can connect with me uh, on social media. You can write me a message through my website as well. I'm very easy to find. I'm taking great pride on answering everybody at some point. It's just like
Yeah.
at some point, emphasis on. And yeah, because it's again, like I said, it's all about connection. I'm very thankful for you inviting me, thinking about me. I never take anything for granted, especially for like such a wonderful conversation such as the one we had, and keep on pressing on. I mean, it's very inspiring. We talked a bit before recording, so this is something that I'm bringing with me, and I'm going to share with the rest of the band later on. Just to understand other people's passion as well, what's their vision and how and why it's important for them. So thank you so much for having me and to be able to
Yeah.
talk with you and your followers or whatever the name they have, all the
Yeah.
real people looking at you and listening to you.
Yeah, thank you. And I mean, same too. Like our discussion before this is like on its own so valuable, and something I'll definitely remember in this podcast episode is filled with lessons and value. So
Awesome.
thank you. And I look forward to all these upcoming projects you have.
So let's do it again soon then.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cheers, brother.